Good morning. My name is Justin Van Toorn. I'm the president and CEO of Greenheart Gold. We're an exploration company working in the Guyana Shield and focused on making new discoveries in Guyana and Suriname.
It's the name of the game.
We've
done it before, we're going to do it again. Right, here in London, thanks for coming and seeing us. I know it's busy over there. We're the Ones One conference. A lot of people, a lot of meetings.
Yep. Yeah, we got quite a schedule today and tomorrow. So we just come out of doing conferences in Zurich and Frankfurt as well. So this is a little bit of our European kind of conference schedule and meeting everybody and trying to explain, what the story is and what we're doing and how it's going.
It's going well.
It is, yeah.
Like I was saying, a great time. Metals, great.
Yeah.
Gold price, great. All the positive signals. But what are people looking for? Is earlier stage, projects like you trying to make discoveries? Is that on the list of needs?
I think right now, really, with the gold price where it is, everybody's looking for anything that can give them exposure to I'd say a quick success, but which never quite jives with the exploration industry in general, but that's a whole different topic. But yeah, I think there's a lot of interest, obviously, in gold at the moment. The gold market's really booming, and we're obviously seeing a lot of interest in what we're doing and the news flow that we're putting out as well.
Right. Okay. And you're splitting the team up because I know you've done Zurich with one conference. We've got the SMI coming up as well. So there's someone trotting off to that from.
No, we're actually just doing these ones. So we just did
Right.
Zurich, Frankfurt, this one, and then it becomes a bit too much otherwise, and we've got actual other things to do here in the background, so can't spend all day on the road.
Right. Okay. So some press releases out recently.
Yep.
There's a smattering of activity in terms of some projects that you've dropped.
Yes.
Some drill results that have come out, and how are you sort of describing things at the moment?
Okay, so if we go back to the beginning, right? We came out saying we wanted to build an exploration company that's going to rapidly turn over projects and really get us quickly to those decision points of, are we going to drill? If the answer is yes, we'll drill it.
Yeah.
We'll see where we stand. So we've done that, for example, for a couple of projects of ours in Guyana. Those projects, we really didn't see the targets that we wanted to see, so we've kind of relinquished that one outright. The other one, we did do a drilling program. We were dealing with some extremely high-grade quartz veins, which looked beautiful, but given the position of that project in the interior of Guyana, it requires a large discovery to be able to make economic.
Yeah.
So despite the fact there's gold there, we didn't see this as a high priority for us to put our capital into. So
just remind us, there'll be a new audience watching this as well. Maybe just remind us in terms of reunion, the process you followed there and how that maps to the way you're going about things here.
Okay. Well, so let's.
And what was reunion? I'm
sorry.
dropping names like people should know. You should know this, guys. No, it was a big win. It was a big win for you guys, right?
So our predecessor company was Reunion Gold. That's really where all of us as the executive team were based. We built that company over many years, and we ended up making a discovery at Oko West, which is about 6 million ounces. And that company we merged with G Mining Ventures. It's currently under construction. It'll be producing in 2027. But out of that, we felt that really our strengths in this part of the world were on the exploration side. So we took the executive team, we took a lot of the geology team as well, and we basically set up a new company, Greenheart Gold, and a chunk of money with that.
Yeah.
We then raised additional financing after that. So we saw really what we wanted to play on were our advantages in this part of the world, which is, we have an ability to get ground. We have an ability to actually operate in the interior, in the jungle. So we know very well what we're doing, what we're looking for. And we wanted to make sure we had a good capital pool behind us so that we had an opportunity to turn ground over. So just like with something like Oko West, where this was project number 5 in Guyana,
right.
We wanted to be able to turn ground over because at the end of the day, not every project is going to succeed.
Yep.
But we didn't want to have to be beholden to one project to go and raise money. So we wanted to have that capital pool to be able to say, let's move on, let's turn ground over. If it's not there, that's fine. We can afford that. That's part of the exploration game. And keep putting money into projects that are more successful. So today we're now at a stage where, it's a little bit, I'd say, a little bit easier for us to explain what we're doing as well, because when we started, we had a portfolio of early stage projects that are all kind of at the same level. So all you can really talk about as well, there's a nice soil anomaly here, there's a nice soil anomaly here. We're now at a stage where we have a more advanced project. So we're drilling on one project in Suriname. We did drill this other project in Guyana, but that one we have relinquished. We've added another project in Guyana as well. So we've now got another early stage project. But we've got a little bit more of a balanced portfolio where we're able to focus on more advanced work while still keeping that pipeline going on the background, that project generation part of the company as well.
Right. Okay. So optionality is the name of the game. Kill to drill. You work out very quickly You don't waste time and therefore money on projects which ultimately aren't going to meet the grade. And that grade is what?
It depends where you are. So this is the other thing is we have two of our projects in Suriname, for example, Majuridam and EGAB. They're actually quite close to existing operations. So one sits just south of the Saramacca mine. The other one's about 30 kilometers south of the Marion mine, operated by Newmont. So for those projects, the threshold for discovery isn't necessarily that high because it can be of tremendous value to the company to find a million ounces there and still have a way to produce that. If you're more in the interior, however, you're probably looking at a much larger discovery requirement to be able to afford the capex that's going to be required to build that in the interior, given the distances, etc. Right. So for us, at the end of the day, grade is always dependent on the price. That'll come at the end of this. Right now, the focus is really on focusing on where do we find the mineralization, what's controlling it, how can we understand the system, and how can we build volume, build both tons and grade in the system.
So if you're an explorer and your team is set up for that, and you've learned from the reunion how to go about operating in those two countries, does this market make things easier for you in terms of the number of potential end buyers or partners or JV or however you tend to do this, or are you cognizant of the fact that markets change, cycles come and go, and maybe you could just stick to the knitting and go like, I think our profile of potential partner looks like this. This is what they want. We know how to drill for what they want, and we'll stick to that.
I think it depends. I mean, at the end of the day, the gold price where it is now, anything is obviously attractive. We obviously can't control what's in the ground. The only thing we can.
But you're never going to be a developer yourselves, right?
Right now, that's not the plan.
Okay.
But we're quite happy to bring projects to quite an advanced stage to be able to capture that value, right? So it's important that we don't try to sell off a project too early because. Yeah. You're not really capturing the full value that way. We want to be able to bring it all the way forward. And again, that's where the capital pool is required to make sure that we can bring a project from that early stage to a resource, to even a PEA, and ensure that we're demonstrating it is economic, and that obviously carries a higher value than just a conceptual resource in the background.
Right, okay. And I'm just looking at the portfolio now. Obviously, you've got a lot of optionality there, and you still got a fair amount of capital on the balance sheet.
We're sitting on about 35 million right now.
It's unusual.
No, it's unusual for a junior explorer, and yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
it puts us in this. It's a luxury as a geologist to be able to have that ability to work very systematically without having to worry about the fact that one project might fail. You can still keep going with the other ones. So that's really what that buys us, is the ability to keep the momentum going, even while dropping maybe a project because it doesn't meet the criteria, but to keep the momentum going on other projects without having to worry about running to the market to go and raise more capital immediately.
And in terms of like that job process, in terms of the cost per meter, let's look at that compared to, say, in North America or other places that you could be spending and allocating capital.
It's going to be slightly less, but there's still a lot of costs obviously involved with getting into the interior and the logistics around it. But I mean, our all-in cost, we usually work with about $300 a meter US and that's all in. That includes the exploration work, the logistics, the supplies, the camp, the people, absolutely everything around that.
Okay, so what does the G mining deal do for a team like you in terms of eyeballs on not just what you've done with Reunion, but and more importantly, I guess what they're doing with Reunion's project Oko it's different from regular exploration plays in that sense. So is the amount of capital that you've got. So how do you think retail should be viewing you? Because you're unusual.
Yes, we are a bit different, and we're also focused, I would say, more on the early stage opportunities in the Shield than maybe some of the other groups that are working in there. So look, the biggest, I'd say, value increase you can get is really on that discovery play. So what you're getting with us is a team that knows how to operate in this part of the world, that has proven success in this part of the world, and quite frankly, even before Oko West, you look at our chairman and his involvement in mines like Omai and Rosabelle and his history in this part of the world. I mean, there's few that have had that much success here. So you're basically backing a team that knows how to work, knows how to make discoveries, and knows how to bring those discoveries into something that's valuable and turns into a mine. So that puts us in a bit of a unique position. You're also backing a group that's already got the capital to turn ground over to be able to basically continue that exploration momentum without having to go back to the market every 6 months and dilute themselves. So, we're happy with where we're sitting. We continue to assess new ground, and we will continue to do that. We have obviously a new project in Guyana. We're looking at adding maybe some more in the near term. In Suriname, we've got 3 fairly strong projects that we're excited about, and we're drilling on one. So there's the opportunity for drill success coming out of all 3 of those over the course of, say, the next 6 months. Okay. As we drill one. So we're going to start drilling on Mayura Dam again in the next couple of weeks. So we just finished a kind of initial diamond drilling program, and that was to follow up our earlier RC results. So we did put that news out last week, and just to talk about that for a second. So we had the initial RC results, very encouraging, but obviously what you don't get with the RC is any kind of structural information. So you're lacking that geological model to really tie down what's controlling the mineralization. Now that we've done the diamond drilling, we've obviously done a lot of oriented core with that. So all of our core gets oriented, which means we can then measure all the structures. From that, try and infer what are the structural controls on that mineralization. And now the second phase is going to be following that up. So although I'll be honest, we didn't hit quite the same tenor of results that we got from the RC. For us, that's fine. It really was more about creating the structural model and understanding what is controlling where we think the mineralization sits. So we now believe we've got a better handle on that. And so now the next phase of drilling is going to be, swinging the rigs around and testing those concepts specifically.
What do you think you're looking at?
So one thing we've noticed in this part of Suriname is unlike Oko, which to be honest was like a geologist's dream in terms of it was just a piece of plywood of mineralization, very easy to drill. There is a high grade control within that, but really didn't matter that much at the early stage of defining a resource. It matters more now defining those high grade shoots as they keep developing the project. But what we see in Suriname is that there's probably a little bit more structural complexity on the deposits. Caused by basically interference patterns of different deformation events. So as you get multiple deformation events, you get interference patterns between the different folding that happens. That creates effectively kind of shallow lying zones of higher porosity where you're likely to find mineralization. But those shallow dipping systems tend to be a little bit more difficult to drill, so it requires specifically targeting the rig to not so much go after the bulk orientation, but really to focus some of these shallow orientations to target those specifically. So that's now the program that we're going to be doing on that project. We'll be drilling, probably about 1,500 meters by the end of the year. That'll give us a quick test on the concepts we have. And hopefully that means we just keep going next year, and we've got drill meters budgeted for that.
And so are those your rigs, are they? Or you,
No, we contract with rigs to bring them in.
How many are you working with?
Well, we're just going to have one on that project, but then we're looking to bring another rig to our EGAP project early in January, and that's to follow up on the 5 different targets that we have there. We've been working those up over the last few months with additional soil infill to give us that geochem footprint with trenching, channel sampling, basically creating our own exposure to be able to see what the controls are and where exactly the mineralization might sit. And then we'll be looking to drill test that in the early 2026, so January, February. And then we would also look to drill our 3rd project in Suriname, Tosso Creek, at some point end of Q1, because we're just started to work that one up now. So we've just brought an excavator. It's amazing. They have to put it on a big pontoon and barge it across the reservoir in the center of Suriname, bring it to the other side, walk to site. So it's been there for about 2-3 weeks now, and it's opening trenches up, creating, again, access, road cuts, helping us really understand the geology there beyond the very extensive soil anomalies that we've already got developed.
What is that? You make an interesting point there, the amount of water that you have to deal with in one
some
way,
places,
shape, or form. Is that are you used to it, I guess?
Not really, I guess.
Oh, not you, okay. The team is used to it.
We are. I mean, you can operate year round. And I mean, to be honest, that's a statement I think I've made in multiple parts of the world, regardless of the environment. The key is being prepared for it, though. So, whether in these countries, you've got a very wet summer season. That does create problems, and I'll be honest, it was problematic for us this year. I think for everybody across the Shield, it was a very wet year. But it's challenging if you have to start making roads. So making things in the rain, you're pouring a lot of money down the drain at the end of the day. So it's better to try and get all the road preparation done in the dry season, which is around about now. There's a small wet season over Christmas and New Year, but then it'll be dry again probably until May. And so that's a good period to do a lot of the prep work. And as long as you've done that prep work, you can keep drilling all the way through the wet season as well. It's really not that much of a challenge.
What about people? Talk to me about people. I know we normally get into the weeds with the drilling and so forth, but I'm just interested in the kind of infrastructure around you, the knowledge base around you. Is it easy to find people, keep people, and I guess off the back of G-Money reunion, that's kind of got eyes on the space again and the region again. Does it help?
I would say probably the bigger impact on the pool of let's say skilled technical people in this part was actually the impact's more from the oil side. So as the oil industry has been building up in Guyana, it has taken quite a bit of the oil industry comes in, they're basically looking for university graduates who are able to learn and take on further roles. So they'll bring on anybody who's got a university education and train them in something else. But that said, like myself, I mean, geologists, I think we're a particular breed, and we like doing this kind of work. So for those who don't want to go sit on an oil rig and would rather go spend time in the jungle and outdoors in the forest, I think there is still an attraction for that. So no, we haven't really had a problem with staffing, at any level. Obviously, the exploration work, if we're working remotely in certain places, we will try and pull also from the local communities that are around, which is also part of that community outreach and making sure that we're involving the local community and showing them what the benefits are of allowing this exploration work to continue. But other than that, we have had to bring some, more experienced staff from overseas, but part of that mandate as well, and I've always kind of adhered to this, which is if you're brought in as an expat to a place, your job is to work yourself out of a job, right? So you are there to train and help bring those around you to a more experienced level, so they're able to do the same later on.
Right. Okay. And obviously, last time I think I saw you were on site.
Yeah, that was in Surinam
camp.
Yes.
Didn't look too wet. So
it was quite dry then.
That was good news. In terms of those kind of the infrastructures that you're building there, obviously nice and cheap and cheerful at the moment. Yep. Is that looking very different from when I last saw you?
No, it's still at that level. So until you're really confirmed on we're going to do a more expansive drill program, which means more than one rig. It means 2-3 rigs. There's really there's no need to really build out a camp to kind of a full, more advanced camp style.
So how does that work? Because I guess I'm wearing going. I'm cheapskate. I'm trying to say, are you spending money on big expensive activities, or is that camp stays there and then you obviously send the drill rigs out, and then everything comes back to camp and you put the core sits there, does it?
Yeah, so each of our camps, we would try and locate the camps to be kind of central to where we're working anyway.
So you're there for a while.
Yeah, so we're set up, but in terms of the amount of money we actually put into the camp infrastructure, we try to keep it cheap and cheerful at the beginning. And that's really partly also because you never know, you might have to move somewhere else or relocate for logistic purposes. So you don't really want that big infrastructure there that ties you to a place when you might not want to be there in 6 months' time. So for right now, it's as you say, cheap and cheerful. We have built a core shed, because you obviously need those facilities for the core logging, for the geotech work, for the core cutting, the sampling, everything like that. But we try to keep it all quite minimal and make sure that as much money as possible is going directly into the ground.
Well, that's what got me going down this line of thinking, was because when I asked you about how much money you've got left, it's quite similar to the number when we last spoke. You're not burning through cash at a ridiculous rate, and you're not you talk about 1,500 meters.
By the end of the year.
By the end of the year, so you're not burning through this at a rip roaring rate. So, what are you? How would you describe this work, and why is this work important before you start actually spending the money on the drilling bit, which is the bit I think the market tends to value, or if as long as you pump out a word called discovery, So why is this bit important and spending it carefully now?
Well, because this obviously sets the framework for everything that you do later on. So as much information as you can get at that early stage, and look, sometimes there is an impatience to start drilling, and at the end of the day, the drilling will tell you what's there or not. But the more work you can do early on, which is the cheaper work, before you bring the rig in and start drilling lots of meters, is understanding that structural framework, trying to get as much information as you can out of every other bit of work that you do, be that the soil sampling, be that the trenching, be that creating the exposures and the road cuts. As much as you can get out of that, the more it'll help you down the road.
So there's a value to you now because it saves you money further down the line.
Exactly.
I'm sorry to be a bit simple about this one, but I think a lot of retail don't value this bit because they don't understand it. It doesn't sound important, but it is.
It is, and the same goes for projects that we decide to drop as well. Because at the end of the day, you don't want us to spend money on projects unless they're really worth spending money on. Yeah. So if we spend money on bringing a rig to site and drilling somewhere, we do that because we think there's potential for this to turn into an economic deposit. Yeah. And if it doesn't have that potential, then quite frankly, we shouldn't be spending that money. We should be moving on and spending that money somewhere else. And yes, that at the end of the day means that we're spending money on something that we drop, but that's part of the exploration process. And you don't want us to hang on to that and to keep putting money into something, good money after bad. So
busy being busy, not busy being effective.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. And I always think it's worth explaining this repeatedly because one, it's not valued in terms of what it does for moving your share price. But it's important in terms of what you do, because one, you're not destroying capital. In terms of that return on invested capital is a really, really important thing to focus in on. But it gives you the information to make better informed decisions down the line in terms of the de-risking process.
And I will say that most of, we have a large institutional shareholding base as well. So, and they get it. And really when we've spoken to them over the last, a week and a half of meetings, I mean, we've explained what we're doing. We've explained the strategy. And quite frankly, everybody has said, yep, that's exactly what we expected you to do. As long as you keep doing what you've said you're going to do, that's fine. Okay. That's why we're investing in you at the end of the day. So
trust the process.
Trust the process. Back the team. You've got a good jurisdiction to operate in, and then that's worthwhile pointing out as well. I mean, this really is a wonderful part of the world where you can do exploration work. Like the last thing you want to do is put money into an exploration company and then see them sit there for 6 months waiting for permits or something like that. So this is part of the world where we decide we want to do this work tomorrow. That's what we're going to be doing. We do everything. I would say in the correct way and with respect for the environment and the places we're working, but there isn't a long bureaucratic process to do that, fortunately. So it really does let us bring results quite quickly to the market and be able to do that work quickly as well.
Yes, and it's an interesting point. And I won't name names, but I was speaking to someone earlier today, and they named a major who made a significant purchase in the last, 3 years of a couple of billion, and they are frozen for that reason. They cannot. They've got trucks waiting to go and do what they do, but they have not got those permits as quickly as they thought.
And that obviously plays into the value of the company as well, right? I mean, you want to work somewhere where there is a pathway to success. So, you look at our Oko West discovery. I mean, that went from the first drill holes at the end of 2020, and we only really started work systematically on that project at the start of 2020. And we basically had the PEA done and everything out mid-2024, and it'll be in production 2027. So you've got a 7-year window there of work to go from discovery through to production. And to do that anywhere in the world these days is almost unheard of.
Absolutely.
But that creates obviously the value, because the last thing you want to do is lock up your money for longer than that. To see the returns. Exactly.
Time is money. No, it's a good point. I think it's great to catch up with you. And I know you're here meeting investors and potential investors, but it's nice to see that you aren't kind of. Again, I think some companies who come and talk to me, and they slightly lose their minds in markets like this, and they go, they kind of think it's always going to be this way, and you've got to just trust the process, follow the process, stick to the knitting.
Well, and you need to still keep doing things wisely, because I would say the risk in this kind of market is that the demand is there for success very quickly, and so it's very easy to say, well, look, the gold price there, we'll skip a few phases, we'll just start doing the work early, and then you end up making decisions that, on hindsight, it was better to save that money and do it a little bit slower. So we want to make sure we're sticking to that process. We're doing things right. At the end of the day, as geologists, the one thing you can control are the decisions you make. You can't control, you can't control what's there. At the end of the day, it's either there or it's not. So
you've got the money to fund it.
Yeah. So as long as you make the decisions of where to spend that money, you're on the right track.
Good CSR. Do stay in touch. I'm excited for next year for you. You've got the money to kind of get after things when you decide to, and I like that.
Yeah, would be good.